After signing with the Chicago Bulls over the offseason, so far into this season, DeMar DeRozan has been having an historically amazing season for himself. The type of numbers that DeMar has been able to put up this year, combined with how the Chicago Bulls are playing as an organization, has been phenomenal. But anyways, quickly before we get the video started, for those of you who may not know, I'm Juicy Sports. I make opinionative NBA content, and if you guys enjoy videos similar to this, hit that subscribe button, that like button, and that post notification bell. But anyways, let's get into it.
Oh yeah, I work with the medics. I'm about to get you injected. I got a couple connections so I can get you prosthetics.
DeMar DeRozan has been a fantastic player in the NBA for a really long time at this point. Really ever since the 2010 NBA season, when DeMar was playing back in Toronto, he's had a fantastic career ever since then and never looked back. And really ever since the 2013 NBA season, DeMar was playing at an all-star level. Now I will say he continuously got better once he got to that point, and at the end of his career with the Toronto Raptors, he was seen as a very high-level all-star and maybe even a low-level superstar, but he certainly was never seen as one of the best players in the NBA and a legitimate high-level superstar. And once he went to San Antonio, his value went down a little bit from where it was in Toronto. He was still certainly seen as an all-star type player, but he certainly was not seen as a superstar once playing in San Antonio. But everything really changed ever since he signed with the Chicago Bulls this offseason. DeMar has been one of the clutchest players in the NBA, maybe the clutchest player this season, with his countless amount of buzzer beaters as well as clutch shots in general. And of course, as I mentioned before in the video, the Chicago Bulls currently have the number one seed in the Eastern Conference, and overall the level of play DeMar has been playing at this season is at a much higher level than he was in the previous years. But what changed this season for DeMar? Why was he able to improve his level of play so significantly, especially considering the fact that DeMar was playing at a very similar level for the most part of his NBA career? So I think there's a few different reasons for why DeMar has seen such an improvement this season compared to seasons in the past. So the first reason, in my opinion, is the actual team that he plays on, the Chicago Bulls. Now when you actually look at the roster that Chicago put around DeMar, I think they put perfect players around him. Starting with Zach LaVine, of course LaVine at this point is a superstar level talent, which certainly helps out DeMar significantly in a few different ways. The first way he helps him out is of course he's a superstar player, and when DeMar maybe isn't having a great night, the Bulls can lean on Zach LaVine a lot more and he could just take over the offense. But also having a player like Zach LaVine, who I mentioned is clearly a superstar talent on your team, is certainly going to take some attention away from DeMar and lead to DeMar having a lot more one-on-one opportunities or just a lot more open shots in general. But also probably the biggest reason for why Zach helps DeMar is the fact that Zach LaVine clearly has the ability to hit that catch and shoot three-point shot at a pretty high level as well. So when DeMar is driving all the way to the basket or working from that mid-range area, he has a lot more room to do so because the defense really needs to pay attention to a guy in Zach LaVine who clearly can hit that catch and shoot three-point shot. And of course, besides LaVine, they also have Lonzo Ball, who's turned into a really good catch and shoot three-point shooter. Vucevic as well certainly has ability to do so, Kobe White, and overall Chicago just has a bunch of different players that have the capability to spread the floor and just give DeMar a lot more room to work. So that's the first reason why I think DeMar is having such an improved season this year for the Bulls compared to in the past. Now the next factor I want to talk about is DeMar's three-point shooting ability. Now I personally don't think this factor is as important as some of the other factors, but at the same time I certainly think this does play a role in DeMar's fantastic year this year and wanted to mention it. So looking at DeMar's three-point shooting ability, this season DeMar is shooting around 35% from three, which is certainly around average, maybe slightly above, but when you compare this to where DeMar was shooting in the past, it's a huge improvement for him. Just looking at last season, DeMar was shooting 25% from three, and a few seasons before that, he was shooting around 15% from three, and really the best season that DeMar has ever had three-point shooting percentage-wise, besides this year, was 31%, all the way back in the 2017-2018 NBA season. Now, although DeMar isn't necessarily shooting a very high percentage from that three-point range, he is shooting more threes this season, where he's shooting 1.8 threes per game, and of course he's hitting it at a higher percentage now, which just adds another wrinkle within DeMar's game. Now, of course, we all know at this point in DeMar's career, he certainly has the ability to be, at the very least, a high-level all-star, and maybe even a low-level superstar, just from that mid-range shooting ability, as well as his ability to drive to the basket. But now, this season, the fact that DeMar has added that three-point shot within his game a little bit more just adds another wrinkle within his game and makes him so much more lethal and deadly as a scorer, at least in my opinion. We've seen DeMar have the ability to catch and shoot, especially when a guy like Zach LaVine is handling the ball and he draws a double team and kicks it out to DeMar for a wide open catch and shoot 3-point shot. We've seen DeMar have the ability to hit that at a much higher percentage now, as well as have the ability to hit that 3-point shot off the dribble as well. And overall, I certainly do think that DeMar's improved 3-point shot certainly plays a role in DeMar's fantastic season this year for Chicago. Now, another reason why I think DeMar is playing at such a higher level this year compared to in seasons past is his confidence level. Now, this isn't necessarily something that I can prove or point to, but it's just my opinion and speculation. When you watch DeMar play out there this season, in my opinion, I feel like he looks like he has a ton more confidence out there. And one example for why I think this, when you just look at DeMar's 3-point shooting, you see that DeMar's taking a lot more 3-point shots this year compared to last year, on top of the fact that he's shooting at a much higher percentage. And of course, DeMar wouldn't increase his amount of 3-point shots this season if he wasn't confident in his abilities. And I think that's one area that kind of tells you that DeMar has an increase in confidence this season compared to in years past. But another example is the amount of game winners and game tying shots that DeMar has taken this season and made. If you have no confidence within your game, you're not going to take those kind of shots, and you're certainly not going to make a lot of those shots even if you do take them. And the fact that DeMar has not only taken a bunch of those game winners but also made a ton of those game winners, I think just shows the amount of confidence that DeMar has within his game this year. And as we all know, confidence is probably one of, if not the most important thing as an NBA player or a player in any sport, honestly. Once you have a ton of confidence, even if you're not such a great talent, you could be a really good player out there, and vice versa. If you're a great talent but have no confidence, you can turn into a pretty bad player and maybe even go from a high NBA level prospect to out of the league in a few seasons. And we've seen something similar to that happen a bunch of times. The first player that comes to my mind is a guy in Dennis Smith Jr. who had a ton of talent coming into the NBA but completely lost all his confidence, and he's basically not even playing in the NBA anymore. And overall, I just think all these factors that I listed are the main reasons for why DeMar is playing at such an elevated level this season compared to years past, even though he's been in the NBA and playing at a similar level for a very long time now at this point. But we'll see what happens going forward for DeMar. Hopefully for him, he continues to play at this high level of NBA basketball for the rest of his career, or for a big portion of his career going forward. And for Chicago themselves, hopefully they're able to have a pretty successful playoff run and maybe even compete for an NBA championship, make it to the finals, and maybe even win. Who knows? But anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you guys think DeMar DeRozan and the Chicago Bulls could potentially compete for an NBA championship and maybe even win one this season? Or do you not think so? But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did enjoy, check one of these two videos popping up now. And until the next time, peace out, guys.
Oh yeah, I work with the medics. I'm about to get you injected. I got a couple connections so I can get you prosthetics. Hope you can't go wrong.